guys, welcome back to Viper's World. I hope you enjoyed that little time lapse kicking things off. I know I enjoyed making and designing this bridge here behind me, and I figured before we continue on with the build, let's just dive into it a little bit. Let's talk about it. Also, can we get a minute and just appreciate how cool this view of the world is? I feel like I'm never walking around here. But I kind of hope that this bridge today is going to change that, right? It's going to inspire me to walk around the world more, use the pathways more, and take in more views like this. But enough about that. Let's talk about this bridge because I'm really happy with how this turned out. The idea is, I kind of, when I designed this initially in my creative copy of the world, this is all like tough brick. And the idea is, that over time it's kind of weathered away and eroded, hence where we get like this mud and this granite and, like some of the glow lichen hanging, pale moss and the roots and everything. That's where that's coming from. Also, too, just in a minute or so here, we're going to add in another build attached to this, and this is going to help kind of blend into it more. Because I will say right now, I like it, but I do think like it sticks out a little bit. Like the reds in the granite and stuff are nice, but maybe a little too bold and brash, if you will. But I think that they're going to look really, really nice once we tie it in with the rest of the build here. In terms of the shape of the bridge here, I'm definitely really happy with how like this archway turned out. I found a cool like little reference for arches online, and I knew that I wanted this to be pretty functional. And I mean, honestly, building a bridge is something I've wanted to do for a while. Like you see a lot of people's worlds where they have these like huge, massive bridges, but I mean, obviously there's not too much space here. You even saw I had to clear this back, I don't know, 10, 15 blocks just to be able to get the full bridge in the water. But I do think it looks really cool. We're going to add some more stuff in here, maybe change up the bottom, a little bit of the like lake river area, just to make it look a little more cohesive. And yeah, it is still going to be functional. And then of course, if we come over here, this looks a little goofy right now, but don't worry, we're going to clean that up. The bridge itself, though, is fully walkable. And I went with this cool, almost checkerboard pattern, but like on a larger scale. So just with regular diorite and then the polished, and then right down the middle, we just have a strip of the polished tuff. Just polished tuff, I think it's called. And then, of course, same thing for the stairs. But for those of you that noticed, right, this doesn't really go anywhere. So I think we should fix that now. So that means it is officially time to get started on the build behind me. So sit back, relax, grab a snack, and most importantly, enjoy the time lapse. Now this is looking a lot more like the thumbnail you guys clicked on. Yeah, I mean the bridge is cool and all, right? I am really happy with it, but with this build, it just adds so much more. So this area down here is definitely a little off, right? It's floating and it kind of looks a little weird, but that's because I have some terraforming I'm going to do here, right? I have a whole big plan that we're going to get to on this side as well. So don't worry about this too much, but I want to take a minute and talk about the interior of the build because yes, this does have an interior. So this is meant to be a gatehouse. So when you're coming from the farmlands into this section of the world, or, you know, vice versa, maybe if you're bringing like livestock through, or you're bringing crops, or like this area is going to be a little fishing village, maybe you have to like, you know, there's some records or reports of who comes through here, or like you have to declare what you're bringing into this part of the world. Things like that, that I thought is just, you know, kind of cool. Nice way to add lore to the world. Before we go too much farther though, and I dive into the build itself, I did want to mention that this is inspired by a bridge that Schuler did in their survival world. And I thought it was really cool, but I, you know, not trying to steal build credit or take credit for anybody's ideas. It's heavily inspired by this. So as you guys know, I like to add these like little credit books anytime I take a lot of inspiration from other content creators. So there is a link to that video as well. And yeah, definitely check out Schuler's stuff. I really, really enjoy it. But back to the interior here, right? I do try to make it somewhat functional. So I have an ender chest. And then if we go down here, I feel like this is kind of, you know, it could be like a storage area, but I feel like maybe this is more for like, I don't know, confiscated goods. Like maybe somebody's trying to smuggle slowness potions, you know, into the farmlands or whatever. You know, you can kind of use our imagination. So I have a whole bunch of like chests and whatnot. I do have a crafting table. So if we ever need to craft anything on the fly coming through here, a whole lot of storage, just very dimly lit, very dingy, like basement storage kind of vibes. And then up here, just for like a little bit of creativity, maybe this is like an illegal crab trap. Maybe this one is like inhumane or something. So they confiscated this and it's just kind of hanging in the basement now. As for the exterior here, I thought it would be kind of cool to have this contrast from the tough and like more stone type build. So I went ahead with more of a warm palette. Where it kind of goes from this like reddish, you know, reddish brownish that you get from your terracotta, your granite, mud, all that good stuff. And it kind of works its way up into these lighter colors with little patches of, mushroom stem and bone blocks. Along the sides too, we do have these nice big windows. So, you know, I wanted this to be, right, very open concept, of course, if it's coming, you know, it's on a bridge, you're coming through this big, huge, open, like archway kind of deal. So it makes sense that we have that. Then we also kind of like to tie in with the buttons, have some of these dark oak signs. And of course, wouldn't be a Viper build without looms. You guys know I love looms, specifically this side texture, but especially in this context, right? It just fits so well. We get some more of those red tones that I love so much. And then the border of what this almost looks like a stripped jungle, stripped oak kind of vibe on the sides of the loom, and that fits in perfect with our, well, stripped jungle and stripped oak right there. So it all kind of works out, even on the underside here. And then if I show you guys the opposite side, yeah, everything fits very nicely together. And last but not least, the roof here is very much inspired by that roof that Schuler did on the bridge in his video. I think that this looks so nice. Here, let's get a little less close up. But I tried some other blocks, you know, I was trying tough. I tried blackstone, but I think deep slate is just the way to go. And it's, you know, this arch and the, you know, kind of like Victorian looking things at the top, like little spiky bits, technical term, by the way. But I think it all just looks so nice. It all works so well together, and it ties in to make this whole build feel just complete. But there's probably one thing that you guys have noticed that's maybe taking away from this build a little bit, and that is not the cats in our old base behind me, but these guys here, our quote-unquote monuments, as I've called them throughout our time in the hardcore world. for those of you that don't know, I started, because this is a hardcore world, I started every 100 days adding in one of these monuments, just kind of themed based off of, what we had done over that 100 or so days. So for instance, 500 days, I had built a little like Guardian Prismarine farm. 1,000 days is when I had built this and the giant cherry tree over at the castle. So cherry wood was very fitting. Then we went to every 1,000 days with, if we look at my F3 screen here, we're coming up on 3,000. We are at 2,731. So we're getting there. But as the world has kind of grown and expanded around here, oh, and now it's going to rain. But as the world is growing and expanding, the city's coming out here. I have the countryside over there. I'm going to be transforming this area soon into a little fishing village that I like to call Salmon Cove. So a little spoiler for you, a little sneak peek, Salmon Cove. But as this world is expanding, these are feeling more and more out of place. So I don't want to totally remove them, but I am going to take them down from here. And we're going to keep them in storage until we can find a better place for them. So as much as it's going to break my heart, and it's very fitting that this is raining, I am going to remove these now, and then we are going to find a more permanent home for them another day. So I'll take a couple screenshots here just so that we can rebuild these properly. And I think maybe one day we'll build a museum or something like that to house all of these. So let me know down in the comments what you guys would like to see me do with these monuments, because again, they hold a very special place in my heart. All right, it is done. And honestly, the rain and the atmosphere, that made it like a lot sadder and more dramatic than it had to be. I mean, I have them all right here, nicely laid out in order from 100 to 2,000. So don't worry, these monuments aren't going anywhere. I'm going to keep them stored safely until we have a better place to put them that's not really going to obstruct the view. Because now, I mean, before they were going all the way up to like the build limit, and now look at that. Look at that. You can see the castle, you can see the bridge, everything looks beautiful. Quick little side note here too. I don't think I pointed it out before, but I did put these little signs. So, hey, you're leaving the farmlands, which is this area here. Or welcome to the farmlands, or you're leaving Salmon Cove, our future little fishing village. It's going to be like the rebuild of this village. So I thought that was kind of cool. Like you'll see that, like if you are from the US, like if you're crossing state lines or whatever, you might see like, now leaving this state, or welcome to this state, and like their little motto or whatever. So just a little something. But now I want to get started on this area here. And by this area, I mean a couple little just retaining walls along both sides of the farmlands and here. So both sides of the bridge, rather. So I want to try to do this live to give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about. So basically on both sides of the river, or I don't know what this is, where it spills out into the ocean. Essentially though, right here, I don't want to fall off the wall, but what I do want to do is try to tell a little bit of story with the different types of walls that we have. So over on this side of the water, we have a like really rundown, rickety, wooden kind of one. Maybe that you would expect to find more, with these farmers, right? Because the thing that matters most to them is their crops. And so what if this wall is a little bit run down? It's still doing the job, right? It's not affecting their harvest, anything like that. Whereas on this wall, you can tell that they take a lot more pride in this here across the harbor in Salmon Cove, right? Even though this is pretty mossy, it can be, honestly, it's probably a little bit worn down, but it's kind of like an iconic piece of their history, their culture, is this wall, right? This is one of the first things you see as you enter the city. So it's important for them to not only maintain its appearance, but also just kind of is a rich part of their history. So I think maybe they take a little bit more pride in this, and that's kind of how we get these two very different walls, right? So if we look over, we have, if I turn that off for a sec, we have this very wooden, almost like rundown wall, like it's kind of being held together with the signs. Whereas this one, again, maybe not in the best of shape, but it's, you know, a big part of who they are, of who the people that live, well, will live in this future village transformation. And it's giving fishermen a little bit more here, I think, than maybe this one over here. And now with a little extra foliage, I think that you can really see what I'm going for with these different walls, right? The story is pretty much complete with these two. Also added in the warp trap doors on top here for a pop of color, as well as some lanterns. So maybe there'll be like a pathway along part of this where you can like walk at night, have it nice and lit up. Whereas again, yep, over here still pretty run down, and it just serves from, you know, having anything come up out of the water and get the crops, or, you know, having the soil erode away into the sea here. As you guys saw though, I did add in a good bit of foliage, a lot of like azalea leaves with mossy carpets, these little cattails, lily pads, mangrove roots, I think, yeah, mangrove roots. And then some small drip leaf, which I got a ton of just a few minutes ago here in a lush cave. And I am really glad I did that, because they're just, I wish they were easier to get because I would use them more often, but they are pretty awesome. They add a lot. But yeah, as you can see, just coming through here, there's a whole lot of, you know, moss and like algae built up. Especially as you get towards the middle right, it's kind of built up around the bridges. And honestly, like here, might be too hard to get anything but like a little boat through, but maybe eventually on the lake we can add in, you know, nothing huge, something that would fit under here, but like a couple like medium to small size sailboats. And then this kind of wraps around here, and it looks pretty weird right now, but that is because I want to add in a little bit of terraforming. So to kind of start wrapping this area up for today, I want to add in a cool little field over here, just kind of like a pop of color for when you first enter Salmon Cove, the fishing village. And then right over in here, I want to add in a little like rock formation, maybe even two if I'm feeling it, but at least one right over here. So you know the routine. Go ahead, get comfortable, and enjoy yet another time lapse. And just like that, you guys, we have added so much with honestly so little. I mean, just a simple little lilac field here on the other side of the retaining wall, and then a fairly simple little terraformed rock. And it looks pretty awesome. I mean, I added in, you know, just some some of the pale moss, regular moss, just a whole lot of foliage, right? And before we had all this kind of foliage algae stuff around there. Oh, how did you get there? Okay, I'll deal with that in a second. But, you know, just if I go on the free cam here for a second, you can see, and actually I have that turned on, and I'm about to get attacked. But if I talk real quick, you can see I did hide some firefly bushes under the rock. But as you can see at nighttime here, it looks so great just with the ambience from the fireflies, right? The little kind of lights going around. And I have a couple of firefly bushes out along the bank here, but I was trying to go for like a very bright, brighter green, very like vibrant kind of terraforming here. So a lot of these firefly bushes are hidden underneath. And then same thing over here, there are a lot of firefly bushes. And I think I'm going to swap these out for brown carpets. This is just to hide the frog lights to keep it lit, but keep it nice and safe. And yes, it is spawn proof over here. But yeah, I think brown carpet would blend in a little bit better here. And for our last build of the video today, I want to go ahead and add in a tree and maybe decorate the river's edge a little bit more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the final time lapse. And the tree is all done here. You guys, I'm well, one, I'm out in a boat, but two, I am really happy with how this turned out. I mean, just the extra little bit of terraforming around it, I think really sets it apart from, you know, everything else, obviously from this boring vanilla terrain and whatever this is, whatever I was thinking here when I started the world. But this, when I look over here just at this area, I am so happy with it. This might be the thumbnail. I don't know. You guys already know that. I'm not sure, but yeah, let me just walk you through the idea here. Because the terraforming, this was all just kind of freehand. And I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I tried to add in just some of the like little dried bushes from the desert everywhere. Little bit of our leaf litter scattered in just like that, right? Little pop of yellow, little pop of brown, or I guess the brown is really more to mute some of these stony bricks. But I like the idea that maybe this tree, since it is so like spindly, right? It's very like branches out a lot. It maybe was like had a hard time sprouting up through the rocks is kind of the way that I think about it. And I did, you know, I like trying to tell a story with these builds and stuff, right? Trying to get more in the habit of that. And I think this tree, I'm calling it like the birch willow, right? Because obviously it has these glowberry vines without the glowberries just kind of trickling down. And then there are some, you can see the particle effects, some firefly bushes, actually quite a lot of firefly bushes hidden under here. But the story I'm trying to tell is actually, it's kind of I guess a more personal one. Where growing up, we used to, in my yard, there was this tree that I always really liked back home where I grew up, where it had like a lot of these branches, right, where they kind of split off, and you know, we're kind of all over the place a little bit, right? It was very like spindly, tree branchy kind of thing, but I always liked it a lot and I always gravitated towards it. And the story behind it was my grandfather always used to come and help cut the grass, and I guess when it was a young tree, he ran it over like 5 or 6 times, so they weren't sure it was gonna make it, but sure enough, now it is this big, huge, beautiful tree, just like this tree here. So and I also, you know, anytime I see that tree, anytime I go home and visit my parents, I get to think of him. He has since passed, but I think it's kind of cool now that this will kind of remind me of him every time I log into this world. So just kind of a cool little, maybe a little extra sentiment for me personally there. So this tree is definitely one I'm proud of, and yeah, definitely a personal one to me as well. But more importantly, I think it looks really cool in the world, right? You come across the bridge. This is one of the first things you see. If I go back out over here into free cam, it looks beautiful from, the water. If I get you guys some more views, right? Even from over here, seeing it is just really, really awesome. And I am super happy with how this whole project has turned out, really. Before we go, though, there is one other thing that I wanted to talk about here, and that is actually I have some fan art. I want to give a very special thank you to Magpie over on the Afterlife Discord server, which if you are looking to connect, that's where you can find me a lot of the times. I'll leave a link to that down below. But Magpie, and I'm going to put this up on the screen now, made this beautiful fan art of me and my cat, which I think is so cool. This is awesome. They even have my wings in there for my elytra, as you can see behind me here. And yeah, I was so excited to see that, and thank you so much, Magpie. It is super appreciated, and if anybody else is feeling inspired to make fan art, I would love to feature it in the video. So yeah, please reach out to me or find me over on the Discord for the Afterlife server. And who knows, maybe if you guys would like, I can make a Discord, just a Viper solo Discord channel. So we'll see, maybe that's something for the future. But thank you again to Magpie. But with that, you guys, we are all finished for today. I want to say a very special thank you to everybody still watching at this point. It means a lot to me. And thanks so much just for clicking on the video. I hope you liked. I hope you enjoyed it. Your reward for sticking around to the end is trying to watch me go through the bridge like I said I would. So thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.